Joan Giles and Jean Taylor were tethering a cow on the river flats of the River Murray near Berri in South Australia in January of 1954. As they did so, the two ladies became aware of a strange animal nearby. It was coiled around a sapling and hissed at them, according to Jean. She added that it was 6 feet in length, with a funny head, a purple and black tongue, 2 prominent teeth or tusks, and shiny scales on its back. Another witness, Mrs. Edith Domichens, claimed that it looked like a creature from another world. Mr. H. Hale, director of the South Australian Museum, said that it could have been a quite common animal. Seen under unfavourable conditions, they could take on an odd aspect and appear to be unearthly. He had had many specimens brought to him for identification, which bore little resemblance to how they were originally described. Talk of the sighting reminded locals that a strange creature had been seen years before. The strange creature had been seen previously in the Murray River near Berri over 20 years earlier, in mid-December 1932. It was said by some to fit the traditional form of the bunyip. Whether they were seen in 1932 or not is uncertain, but a Mrs. James, who had passed away by 1954, who had once kept cows on the river flats, had spoken of seeing an animal with a head like a calf in the river. Two brothers named George and Herb Migger remembered a similar animal, which made a booming sound. The creature in 1932 was described as being 6 or 7 feet long and having flippers like a seal, fur like a possum, eyes like apricots, and a bellow which is a cross between a deep cough and a bull roaring. Whether the description referred to the eyes as being the size or the colour of apricots is unclear. The creature was seen by a man to surface and blow water like a whale. Mr. Hale, the same director of the South Australian Museum, who was asked about the creature in 1954, and the owner of the Glenelg Aquarium, were asked for their opinions on what could have been seen. Both men said it was probably a sea lion which had strayed up the river from the sea. Australian sea lions spent a lot of time out of the water, sometimes being found to have clambered up rocky slopes on small offshore islands, and they tolerated fresh water quite well. In 2015, one of several seals was hit and killed by a water skier during a competition at Murray Bridge. This was about 70 kilometres upstream from the sea, which was said to be a considerable distance for them to have travelled, but Berri is another 240 kilometres further inland. Another local came forward to say they had seen a strange animal in the river. They saw something which they said was very shy, diving immediately when approached. It was black, had some fur on the body, and with a head like a large dog, and flippers. Others who had not seen the creature had heard its bellowing roar from the Murray. Rather bizarrely, many of the local sceptics who discounted the bunyip theory did not hold to the seal explanation either, and said this 7-foot-long creature was a musk duck. In 1932, when the creature was seen, an old man recalled that nearly 40 years earlier, a startled fisherman had returned from the river between Lirrup and Berri. The man had been reeling in a Murray cod he had caught on a hand line when he saw something bigger than the cod following it in, almost up to the bank. Murray cod typically grow up to 3 feet or a metre length, although the largest ever recorded was 5 foot 9 inches. Presumably, whatever the fisherman saw was at least that size, and probably more. The 1954 creature was not seen in the water like the other sightings, and was probably not the same type of animal. One suggestion was that it was a large carpet snake. Michael Hervey, in his 1969 book UFOs Over the Southern Hemisphere, included the story of the 1954 sighting, and conjectured, in line with Mrs. Domichens, that it might have literally come from another planet. As nothing similar was ever reported again, its true identification remains a mystery, lost in the dark corners of zoology.